Hey y'all, CB here at NBS Welding. I want to show you what we're into next. Grapple bucket. My buddy got a hold of this thing. Looks to be in real good shape, obviously used, and the little bit of evidence we can find points towards it coming from something like a paper mill or something like that. This thing looks like it's stuffed full of paper. So that might be a place where it wouldn't be too hard on it. But something that's really strange, that the first thing my buddy noticed, where the quick connect is, look at this. I don't know how this would have happened unless this was put on something that it just didn't fit on correctly. And it was so loose, maybe it just wiggled and wore. But this is the first thing he noticed that's definitely got to be fixed. This steel right here is more than 3/8 of an inch thick. And here where the quick attach goes on, I mean, it's wore out, sharpened down right to a knife edge. Another thing that is probably related to that at some point, and probably the reason they got rid of this, at some point the machine probably came disconnected because of that wore out connection, and it flew up and it busted the guard off, probably that protects these hydraulic lines. And we see on these threaded bosses, there's bolts broke off in there, and those are going to need to be extracted. So that's another little doozin we got to get done. My buddy's also wanting something welded into the bucket here to hook a chain to. You know, when you pull on stuff, you're always going to need that. Any bucket of any kind needs something handy to hook to. And what my buddy's going to mostly be using this for is going to be brush. Moving brush and lifting brush. And so the grapple is nice, but this type is not the greatest. What he's going to want is a plate added to this that goes all the way across here, and we'll put little teeth on it. And we'll have one of those right there and one of those right there. And what that's going to do is, it's going to make it where you can grab tree limbs and brush, and, you're going to use it for clearing land is probably what he's going to, cleaning up land is what he's going to use it more for. So, something that's really good timing about this, there's going to be some heavy carbon arcing and welding on this little job right here. And look at what I got right here from Arc Captain. This is their MiG 250. This is the biggest machine that Arc Captain makes. This is the highest amp, highest voltage machine that Arc Captain makes. So, like with I get a lot of comments about the Arc Captain machines. How thick will it weld? How thick will it do this? How hot is it? Can you carbon arc with it? Well, we're going to take this thing first thing, crank it up wide open, and carbon arc with it, and see what it's got, see what kind of guts it's got, and weld some thick and heavy metal with it, and see how it does. So stay tuned for that. Hey y'all, CB here, the No BS welder here at NBS Welding. I'm wanting to let y'all know we got t-shirts for sales. If you'd like to support the NBS Welding YouTube channel, send Tina an email at nbswelding@aol.com. Go to the NBS Welding YouTube channel, check out the content, and in all new video descriptions, there's links to our Amazon storefront and our affiliates. So you can check out the products that I use and endorse. These hydraulic lines are steel. They could conduct electricity, and they're really close to where I need the carbon arc. So I'm going to take them off there. There's a good chance they would be damaged. Too much of a risk to bother taking. Just take them off, get them out of the way. You don't have to worry about touching them with a carbon arc and cutting them in half. So first thing after that, I decided I would go ahead and do all my metal cutting first. And what I'm actually cutting here is not a piece that we're going to be welding on the machine. What I'm cutting here is a pattern. I got a piece of thin scrap steel, and I decided that I'm going to make me a pattern, and I'm going to put that pattern in my pattern torch and use it to burn out the two pieces that I need to put the bars across this grapple. And I'm holding that pattern up there in place, and I'm kind of making it so that the teeth will miss those bolts. Don't know how critical it is. It's just something that I didn't want a sharp tooth coming down right where one of them bolts was. I wanted it to be where it would miss. And part of doing this, I want to be able to put these plates on there, and if he changes his mind and decides he doesn't want them on there, I want to be able to cut them off without messing with any of the original factory stuff. So I'm not running these plates all the way over to where the actual factory bucket is welded together. I don't want to weld to those welds. I'm just trying to weld it strong enough to hold it, weld it to that center plate. And if he decides he wants to cut them off, I'll cut it off, grind it up, and you'll never know it ever happened. Got a piece of 1/2-inch plate, and I'm just going to hand burn me a couple plates that I can handle to get those into the pattern torch. And then I've got the pattern in the pattern torch. You see it there at the top. And I'm going to set that up and let the pattern machine cut out these two pieces that I need. And on this first one, that's all I'm cutting with it. On the second one right here, I'm actually using the back side of my pattern as a straight edge to burn me a couple pieces of this steel 1-inch wide. And the reason that I'm burning those is those are the pieces that I'm going to cut the length and use to repair the damage to the coupler where it's all wore out. And here I got my plates cut. Got them clamped up there where I can line them up the way I want them lined up, and all of that's looking good. I like it. It's going to work. And like I said, even though I'm not running those all the way out to the edge, I'm going to get plenty of weld on there. So the next thing is I'm just taking a cutting wheel and making a straight cut at the end of that damaged material on the quick coupler. That way, you know, when I go to burning all that off there, I know I can just burn over to that straight cut. And what I wanted to do here, we're carbon arcing with the MiG 250. First thing right out of the gate, crank that sucker wide open and go to arc gouging with it. And you can tell, just like with the other carbon arcing I've done with these budget inverters, it doesn't have a tremendous amount of open current voltage. It does have more open current voltage than the MiG 200, and it carbon arcs better than the MiG 200, although I did carbon arc with a MiG 200 too. I did a video on that a little while back, just a short video to prove it could be done. But after I carbon arc with the MiG 250 a little bit, I got curious to compare the MiG 250 to the MiG 205 MP. That's the new multi-process machine that I really like, that has pulse MIG, pulse TIG, stick, and plasma cutter. This is kind of the high tech of what our Captain has to offer. And I did a video carbon arcing with the MiG 205 MP a little while back too, and in that same video I was plasma gouging with it. And so in this test, what I think I found out, I would say as far as open current voltage and heat, I don't think there's a huge difference between the MiG 250 and the MiG 205 MP. Both of these machines are more powerful than a MiG 200. They seem to have more open current voltage than a MiG 200 and more amperage. But considering that the open current voltage is not crazy high, and when it's not crazy high, the machine won't run 60-10 really good, and it won't carbon arc really good because the carbon rod wants to go out. And you relight it and it goes out. So what I decided to do is what I did in the other video. I was like, well, you know, with carbon arcing is one way to gouge this, but let's try the plasma. So what I'm doing here is I switched to the MiG 205 MP's plasma cutter, and I turned my air down and my heat up, and I'm just plasma gouging. And I tell you what, I got more done faster that way, I think, than I did with the carbon arc. So if we look at what gouging I've got here, I went about 2 inches with the MiG 250 carbon arc. I went about 2 inches with the MiG 205 MP carbon arc. And then right there where I swiped my finger, I started plasma gouging with the MiG 205 MP. And all of those worked. Any one of those three operations would have got the job done, but I think I got the most done the fastest with the plasma gouging. So just to have something to compare to, what I've done, I'm hooking up my Miller XMT 304, you know, and this is a high dollar professional grade. Even if you buy one of these refurbished used on eBay, you're going to spend at least $3,000. This is a hell of a machine. The Miller XMT is, in my opinion, the inverter of all. And you can tell, like, when I carbon arc with it, whatever it touches that conducts electricity just disappears. I blew that steel right out of the way like it was nothing. So, you know, I always say, as much as I love Arc Captain, if you got the money to spend on a Miller, buy it, by all means. You know, that's not really the market that Arc Captain's even trying to compete with. These are budget machines that work great. But I hooked up the MiG 250 with 035 solid wire. Clamped me a piece of angle iron up there to help me hold these flat bars nice and straight, in line with doing the repair that I need to do. I got some beveling that I've done to get some weld down in there. And looks to me like I got these bars looking pretty good. They're just going to need welded up on there. So we're going to be starting out this with the MiG 250 with 035 solid wire and a 75-25 mixed gas. MIG welding with this MiG 250 is a dream, and it is powerful. It's got all you could ever ask for on running solid wire MIG. I would not hesitate. There's no limit to the thickness on this thing. It's unlimited. You know, you could multi-pass 2-inch steel, no problem. And what I'm doing here with the solid wire MIG, I'm putting in a root bead with the MiG 250, trying not to go very wide, just bridge it across without getting too much metal down below. I don't want gobs of steel sticking down below where it'd be in the way of the connector. So we end up with a bead maybe 5/16 of an inch wide as a root bead, and then we come over to the MiG 250, and I don't know exactly how many volts that it would take of the MiG 250 to hot pass this, but I'm telling you, I know how many volts I'm going to use. It's all of it. I just turned it all the way up. Now there is a trim feature on here. When you're in this SIN mode, you can go 0-0, always welds good. SIN mode with Arc Captain always sets you up good. If you go negative 1 volt, say, then it takes that down to 27, and you're going to get less heat and more wire. So relatively close, but more of a short circuit. And what I've done here is went the opposite way, where I've went up 3 volts on this trim feature. And what that does is it turns it into more of a spray transfer. So when you use that trim feature in the send mode, what you're basically doing is adjusting the balance between your heat and wire. And if you do 0-0, it works great. If you do positive, like I'm doing here, then you're getting into more of a spray transfer type of weld. If you do negative, then you're getting into more of a short circuit type of weld. Now, the spray transfer is a lot of heat, offers a lot of cleaning action, and really it's a way to push MIG and get very deep penetration, very clean weld, and running your shield gas on there and really cleaning it out. Let me see if I can get us here. We can listen a little. That's the sound of your spray transfer. So there, you know, the spray transfer is where you're running a lot of voltage and a little less wire. And it's nice on that MiG 250 how you can adjust that, but you don't have to. If you hit send and you choose your voltage, it's going to set your wire where you can weld with it at least. And if you want to do any fine tuning, then you can do some fine tuning from there. This is the other side. I didn't do that one on film, but we got our root bead in there. We got our hot pass in there, and a couple notes on the MiG 250. The gun on this one is the nicest MiG gun I've ever seen. It has a ball swivel at the gun and a ball swivel back at the machine, coming right out of the machine. And instead of the slip-on gas cup, this one threads on. So it's a little, it's going to be a little stiffer and more rigid there on the end also. And another little job we're doing right here while we got the MiG out is I'm going and I'm getting some washers and some nuts, because we've got to do an extraction on those broken bolts that are broke off in the bucket. So I'm getting some pliers, and what I'll do is I'll tack a washer on there first. So I'm welding that bolt to that washer without welding the washer to the boss. Then I've got a little bit bigger washer to get a hold of, and I weld that on there. Then I weld a nut on. And I know a lot of guys just go in with a nut, and you can do that, and a lot of times it works, but I have a higher rate of success when I do a washer first. Almost works every time. And I get a ratchet and I back those out, and then we've done an extraction. And we got good threads there, no harm done. So that's going to be, and I got a shot I'll show you here in a second right there. Those are the broken bolts that I welded washers and nuts to and backed out. So I want to cover pass this. And I'm going to do it with a stick. Little bit more tests for the MiG 250. I've got some 1/4-inch jet rod right here. Needs used up. It's the biggest rod I got. You know, I'm going to go right in with that. Disconnect from MiG. Connect the stinger to the positive terminal. Get ready for stick welding. I was supposed to be hitting the mode button right there, and I hit the wire. That was wrong. Here we go. There. Mode button. Manual metal arc is what I call stick, but it's MMA on the machine. And then wide open. All she's got, 250 amps. We're burning a 1/4-inch jet rod with the Arc Captain MiG 250. And I've burned these 1/4-inch rods with a lot of these little inverters. You long arc it a little bit, and it'll run it. I've done it with the MiG 205 MP. Now, the MiG 200 doesn't run a 1/4-inch. I've ran a lot of 3/16 with the MiG 200. But the 205 MP and the MiG 250 both, I have successfully ran the 1/4-inch 70-24s and, made some of these monster welds with it. And it's way more than you should ever do with a machine like this. I mean, I'm really pushing it doing that, but that's what I do. It's part of the testing is and I get a lot of guys saying, what's the duty cycle? What's the duty cycle? I don't pay a lot of, I test the machine. I just test it. Is it going to do it or is it not? Because over the years with different machines, I've looked at the duty cycle ratings on them, and it's usually, it's worthless information. Some of them are showing a bigger duty cycle, but they won't perform better than some of the ones that's showing a lower. But I'm going to get a little more practical on this next one, but I'm still going to be running a rod way too big for this machine. Instead of the 1/4-inch 70-24, I want to burn this 3/16-inch 70-24 on the next one. And we're still going to run it wide open. And it smoked this thing. And this is still one size bigger than I would think that any normal situation would call for. The 532 rods is probably, for most people viewing my content, the 532 rods is probably as big as you're ever going to want to go. If you buy a bunch of 3/16 rods, if you don't have a bunch of heavy welding to do, you're not ever going to use them. You're not going to use them all. You can play with them, but if you don't have a bunch of crazy heavy welding to do, I wouldn't buy something that you can just play with. But, whatever you want. I just think that with these machines, what you should expect is you're gonna get absolutely beautiful performance with any 5/32 rod. If you go bigger than that, I'm proving that it'll do it. But grinded the paint off and put my plates on there, and I put my D-ring in the center of the bucket. I decided to do some exterior uphill welding with the MiG 250 and the 035 wire, and that went really well. I didn't have to weld that uphill. I could have turned it flat with my hoist. I wanted to run some uphill beads with it with the MiG and see how it ran, and I just love MiG welding with this 250. I think it's the best MiG welder I've got of all of them. For some reason, it just really MiG welds really good. So we got our bolts extracted. We got our repair done on the coupler. We've got our plates added in here so he can grab his automotive and brush and rip and tear you know, out at the farm or at the camp or whatever he wants to do. And here we see the MiG 250 that I used, and this is a shot of that ball connection I was telling you about. It's got that coming right out of the machine and on the gun, and this gun, I just love this gun. I would say as a hardcore super hot MiG machine, this would be the king. The MiG 250 would be the king. Although we'll get more into stick welding with it too, but since it ran 1/4-inch jet rods, you know it's a good one. So I want to thank y'all for watching, and learn how to work with what you got. That way you always have everything you need.